Today's debate hedges around one particular issue, one key issue within the debate, and that is which paradigm better serves justice towards these victimized people, these people who have been wrongfully convicted due to certain discrepancy within the judicial system. Firstly, I'm going to go on to some rebuttals to my previous speaker. Firstly, again, we are not speaking about punishing the state, but rather we are trying to appease the victimized. We are not looking for fault from the state. We want them to, we're not asking them to, we want them to appease these people. We want them to, because again, the state has a right to protect the people. They have a right to protect the rights of their people, and by wrongfully convicting a person, the judiciary, which is subsidiary actually to the state, even though it is independent from the state, it still has the rights. It still has to uphold the rights that the state holds dear, and that is the rights of the people, which are taken away due to wrongfully conviction. No. So basically, which paradigm actually better serves this justice better? We believe on side of government that government paradigm has a much better stance right now. Why? Simple. Because we have proven to you the nature of the legislation system, in which it takes a long and tedious process in order for someone to be convicted. But yet there are certain discrepancies that may happen. That closing actually did concede that there may be problems in lawyers, may be problems in police force. But again, due to the idea in democracy that judiciaries are not just jury-based systems, but also judge-based systems, the judges themselves have the last say, and they're the ones who come up with the decision to convict that person. So in a way, it is the judge's fault. Sit down. No. So again, basically, we are looking for an easiest way to get to appease these people, to get justice for these people. That's through giving compensation. Compensation, as my previous speaker said, instead of counter-suing the state, because the state will be held accountable for wrongly convicting this convict, the state themselves will be counter-sued by the people, by the convict. And this convict himself will feel, yes, I need this. This is something that will help me to reconcile what happened to me in the prison when I served time. And furthermore, again, we also need compensation, because how are we going to appease the families of these victimized people, the families of these people who have been wrongfully convicted, such as people wrongfully convicted for murder, and sentence has been carried out, such as hanging, in America especially. We see, you want to base it on democracy. America is a democracy that still has the death sentence. If this person is, if this person is convicted and sentenced to hanging, he will be hanged, then deal, but maybe a few years later, that case will be reopened and they find that that person is not actually a murderer, it was another person. This already shows that justice is not really being served for the victims, the families of the victims. So this, in effect, going on to the idea of the nature of legislature, will actually help to reconcile the problems that are faced by the families after the death of the wrongfully convicted. Yes.
Your member said that this is merely a form of tokenist, return, which doesn't make any practical difference to the plight of the families. Are you contradicting your?
No. I'm merely saying that this person, again, death, like money cannot compensate for death, but yet it is at least some form of cushion here. Because in that sense, if a person is murdered, the fact that the state, again from opening side, the state can come out under status quo and apologize and say, and publicly apologize and say that, we were wrong to murder this person. That will not bring that person back to life. Again, neither will money, but yet it's a much better cushion, it's a much better response to these families of the victimized, because the families of the victimized themselves will not be resentful towards the government for causing that wrongful conviction. So basically, what has my extension told you? It has told you basically the idea of the justice system, the idea of the nature of legislature. It has told you about the idea of countersuing and how this, under your paradigm, countersuing will occur, whereas we do not want countersuing. We do not want to have countersuing. We'd rather have direct recompensation for these people. And furthermore, he has actually told you about the grounds on which wrongfully convicted people will stand on, such as defamation, such as prima facie, double jeopardy, and so on and so forth. So basically, altogether, we feel that on side closing government, that we have basically proven to you why these people deserve to be compensated by the state. With that, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as has been repeated many, many times today throughout this debate, justice is punishing the right person for the wrong thing that he has done. And today, even though government can come out and tell you a million sob stories of how awful it is to be wrongfully convicted, which we agree with, they are trying to apply a distorted sense of justice by punishing anyone that they can point a finger to in order to achieve justice for these victims. And on opposition, we have seen a more rational side that is trying to tell you, look, let's not get carried away by emotions. It's very easy to come out and feel sorry for these convicts, but let's not punish the wrong person for the wrong thing. And this is the principle that has been very consistent throughout the entire opposition bench today. So moving on to my three clashes today. First of all, who exactly is at fault here? And if we win on this issue, then the entire case of the government falls. Secondly, what exactly will achieve justice, especially considering these victims? No. Thirdly, on the effects on the court and harms, the practical harms that will be brought to the court and the criminal justice system in society by this policy today. So firstly, moving on to who exactly is at fault here. Opening government and told us explicitly that they believe these wrongful convictions are because of shortcomings of the criminal court. Here, closing government came out and told us about how the police is not at fault, the defense counsel is not at fault, it is the judge that is at fault because they have the final say apparently. And so closing and opening government all agree that it is solely the criminal court's fault. And let's just take that. And then they came out and showed that they have a fundamental misunderstanding of the principle of separation of powers under a Western liberal democracy. What exactly does separation of powers entail? Separation of powers entails that the judiciary, the legislative branch, and the executive branch are equal in society, and that they are supposed to be independent and they provide checks and balances against each other because of this independence, and they're not supposed to interfere with each other's decisions. It is simple as that. The two branches that we're talking about today is firstly the executive branch, which makes administrative decisions for the government, and secondly the judiciary, which applies the laws of the society as to cases. We ultimately cannot see the link between the executive branch of the government and the judiciary of the government. It is absolutely atrocious for them to say that the judiciary is subsidiary to the government, or that the government should be interfering in the judicial decisions of the court. And we say that ultimately, since they have failed completely to provide this very important link between the courts, which are the wrongdoers, and the executive branch, which they are asked to pay money to compensate for the mistakes of another branch, we fail to see how this policy can be enacted. Simple as that. After point, yes.
What is the tangible harm of imposing this compensation toward the state and the separation between the court? Second, prove to us the beneficial of your proposal toward the one who are convicted and
we're talking about tangible harms when you point the finger at the wrong person. Firstly, because it is against your very principle of justice, which is punishing the right person for the wrong thing that he has done. And secondly, as explained by Jeffrey in his extension, we have given you very concrete harms that are because it harms the independence of the courts, and how this policy will actually result in very tangible harms. So secondly, we move on to the second clash about what exactly will achieve justice. And justice, as I've already explained, is trying to find the truth to acquit the innocent and to convict the guilty. And we say that yes, because of this court system, because human beings are not perfect, yes, there are wrongful convictions. I don't think anyone is denying that in this case. you about how under status quo, we have clearing of the name, we have restoration of the reputation, which is the most important for this person. Because ultimately, if a person is wrongfully convicted, then they are widely publicized in the media, and we say that everyone will know that they are cleared of the name. And we say that as they have already accepted, an apology is actually already enough. And we say that they have not provided any additional explanations as to why we need to give a financial compensation by the executive branch of the government. Secondly, from closing government, they say that this is the best way to appease victims. And we say that it is ultimately very cold-hearted of them to expect that a sum of money paid to this victim's family can actually appease the victim's families. And again, ultimately, if we're talking about justice under this clash, please be rational and please punish the right person for what they have done. And in this case, as identified by the government, the wrongdoer is the court, not the executive branch. No. Thirdly, onto the effects on the court. OG came out and said that it is very important that we, give financial compensation to restore credibility to the court. Let's consider this. The credibility of the court is already, tainted if a wrongful conviction comes out, and we fail to see how there is a link between the executive branch coming out and apologizing and paying financial contribution, how that would in turn restore credibility to the judiciary. Secondly, they say that paying financial compensation will actually lead to the court being more vigilant and leading to better judicial decisions. Let's see if that is true. That is not true, because there is absolutely no consequences on the court under their model. There is no consequences. There is no punishing of the court. And therefore, we say that if you punish the wrong brand, then the wrongdoer will simply think, okay, there are actually no practical consequences to us. And we say that means that we are free to do whatever we want. Yes.
Now, judges have already been reprimanded. The Fox has done that. But what about the victims? How do you appease that person?
We say that ultimately, applying, it's so simple. It's like one of the first principles of justice that we have been saying. You can't just simply say, oh, I want to make you feel better, and so I'll take whatever opportunity I have to give money to you. We think that is ultimately unfair for society and unreasonable for you to expect it. It's easy to say, yes, you want to appease the victims, but we can't just do it by any reasonable, any possible way possible. And then going to the extension of the practical harms done to the independence of the court, as highlighted by the extension from Jeffrey, we say that ultimately, if you enact this policy, that it will undermine the independence of judges and the judiciary, because the executive will then undoubtedly be trying to influence the judiciary. And again, following onto the principle about why we don't popularly elect judges is because we want them to be accountable to the court, not to the public. And we say that ultimately, under status quo, if you look at case law, courts are already under the scrutiny of courts. That is why we have an appeal system, and that is why in judgments, judges will reprimand lower court judges for doing wrong. We say that ultimately this court scrutiny is enough, and there is no need for the executive branch to do anything more, because they are not related, they are not at fault, and ultimately it is unreasonable for them to expect them to pay money. Thank you very much.